Hey, 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 I'm your host, Jasmin Haley, and welcome to the Legacy Speaker Show. Today's guest is Selena Guerrero, and I know that y'all are eager to learn how you can leverage LinkedIn for your speaking. Now, let me share why we invited her. She is a sales and LinkedIn coach. She helps consultants and service based businesses leverage LinkedIn to connect with untapped leads, partners, and prospects to reach their next level of revenue. Selena is a creator of L5X, sorry about that, a LinkedIn course, Reach, a revenue achieving coaching program for women consultants and service based business CEOs, and the LinkedIn strategy playbook to integrate LinkedIn into your business growth strategy. Welcome to the show, Selena.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I had to have you on here. I met you last year in San Diego, and I had the wonderful opportunity to learn a bit about yourself, about your work, and it always stood into the top of my mind like I've got to get her on here to share her expertise. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today. I want to know specifically from you what led you into the work that you're doing right now. Like why LinkedIn? I think I may have told you this. I can't remember because it's been a while since we've chatted in person. But I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn.
Welcome to the club. You're not the only one.
So I'm like, okay, tell me, I got to hear this. What led you into this specific world?
Well, how far back should we go? No, I would say, first of all, I was a musician, a singer a very long time ago. My undergraduate degree is in music. And
Wow.
yes, I was a singer. And I'm from the LA area, and I moved to New York City to try to be an opera singer. And I did that and then didn't, tried and didn't, it failed basically, but that's okay. And what happened was I left sort of the performing world and went really into the arts management world. And that's really where I learned to sell. I became a booking agent and I was booking tours. And booking agents are essentially salespeople, right? What we're doing there is we're saying we're connecting at the time, it was with CEOs, executive directors, it was other high level professionals who were trying to book their seasons. This was in the performing arts. So we're talking about orchestras, ballet companies, world dance, that kind of thing. And so I learned how to sell, how to build relationships. And at some point, I really got into this idea of using social media, right? How do we leverage social media for building those relationships? So I would say probably the answer to your question is it's LinkedIn because I've always dealt with professional business to business sales relationships. And also, I love social media. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Okay, if I'm being honest, but right, this opportunity to be able to build relationships with people in a way that mirrors the real, the face-to-face world. And that was the world we were all evolving into. And I would say,
Mhm.
LinkedIn became a really interesting opportunity. And at the time, there were a lot of people who were trying to figure that out. And I started training people on how to build their professional profile, how to find, start conversations with potential clients. And yeah, the rest is history.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you've kind of connected it to just everyday experiences to leverage. One of the things that I specifically remember when we had time to spend together in the workshop was your way of thinking made me reframe. There were
Yeah.
certain ways in which we even were working with like the heart methodology and just seeing your process of connecting the dots
Mm.
was enough to make it memorable for me. So I love how you have taken just everyday concepts. And I just want to I want listeners to understand, like, I know we're on the topic of LinkedIn, but we've got to understand that we have skills, we have experiences that could be used in interchangeable ways. And I love how you kind of connected those dots there. Because many of us are going to see, even within our own business, we're going to make several pivots. And what experiences you have in the past are like tools in your toolbox that happen to show up in unexpected ways as you are evolving.
100%. And it took me 20 years to realize that singing isn't any different. It's communicating, it's
Hmm.
sharing your story, it's influencing, right? That is what marketing and sales is, which is what I do to now. It took me a long time to recognize that. And I absolutely agree with you that sometimes it's hard to see that ourselves. But yeah, I would validate that idea as well, that we still have whatever we've been doing before what we're doing now, we bring that. It's just maybe a different community, but those, it's not like we lose those skills. It's not like we lose those, that is experiences.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So for those of us who are in the speaking world, and I just want to just lay this foundation. I say it a million times for those of you who already know me. You know, speaking is more than just keynoting. You could license your content. You could be on virtual stages, in-person stages. You can be in a boardroom. You can be in a podcast like we are right now. Like there's multiple ways in which you can leverage it. But for those of us who are interested in diversifying our income through using our voice, whichever vehicle we decide to utilize, why is LinkedIn a good choice?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things to think about. Number one, I think, okay, so let's look at LinkedIn as sort of a two-pronged opportunity in terms of the speaking, right? Number one is, I think that there is a fluidity, right, between me being on this podcast and me being on a big stage, right? Because what we're doing, and because I did learn your heart methodology, it's about how do we connect with our audience. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time to sort of refine. And so as I sit here on this podcast, I'm learning how to communicate the ideas that I have. And I can take that and I can do that on my own podcast. I can do that with my coaching clients. I can do that on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has is essentially this platform where you have the ability to go live, right? You can do an audio convert, like a kind of like a clubhouse version. You can do short form or even long form videos there. So if you want, what happened actually, so it was 2021, was it 21? All the years are so confusing at this point, but I think it was 2021. I decided that I wanted to start going live on LinkedIn, which prior to that was not possible. And it took me 6 months, literally 6 months, every single week to get on and get and refine my ideas. So, as far as if you're trying to be a speaker, or if you already are a speaker, we have to kind of keep our chops up. And I don't think we need to just say, oh, I can only get on that, 20,000 person keynote stage. It's, you know what I mean? It doesn't, and being somebody who was a booking agent in performing arts, there is so much correlation there, Jasmine, right? The people that were on the big stages didn't just turn up there overnight. So I think, especially if you have some big ideas, if you have insights, if you want to, just share the concepts that you think are important for your clients or for the people that you serve, LinkedIn is a great place to do that. There's long form content written. There's certainly, as I said, video and audio, and it's all there for the taking. I mean, it's a stage. It's a stage.
Yes, yes, yes. I love all of that. And I love how you mentioned, the different ways in which you can utilize it that we often don't think. And what came up for me as you were sharing that is some things that I'm noticing from most business owners, and I would love to get your expertise or viewpoint on this.
Mhm.
So as we start leveraging the audio, because I forgot they had like something that was very similar, like audio rooms to Clubhouse. I forgot they had that. So we have the live video, you have direct sales, you can actually pitch people. We didn't talk about that just yet,
Yeah, I
but
could talk.
I would love. Okay, great, perfect. I would love to know, like, if someone is pivoting and they are in that refinement stage of their messaging, sort of what you shared, would you recommend they start over with a new LinkedIn? Like, what are the ways in which they can be pivoting or make adjustments as they're like refining their messaging and positioning their thought leadership on LinkedIn?
Okay, great. Yeah, so this is really, so this is kind of category one, and I'd love to get to category two, which is more how do we find people for who might want, might want to bring us on to speak as the speaker. So we can talk about that in a second. But to sort of continue the conversation about the content piece, when I was doing those lives, I was figuring it out in real time, right? And I think
Mhm.
that this is part of the process. You have to be able to get on camera, on stage, like, and work it out, right? It's not going to be perfect the first time. And so if you are pivoting, right, you know, this is exactly the time that you should be on there talking about these new ideas, right? This is how you do it. You don't pivot behind closed doors. It just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like
So true.
I am very much a believer that, you know, uh, in order to clarify ideas, in order to make a pivot, we can sit at our desk and write out for days and days and days what we think we want to do. But it's not until you get out there and you start using LinkedIn to write content, do the lives, start sharing your carousels. And guess what's going to happen? The people that are interested in your message are going to show up, and they're going to comment, and they're going to like, and they're going to reach out, and there's going to be this engagement, and you're getting the feedback that you need. The only thing you need to do to make that pivot is just to take a step forward. Like, just step on the stage, right? The whole idea of perfectionism, that gets a lot in the way. The imposter syndrome of, oh, I didn't, I don't know, I've never worked with this industry. I have a client right now in one of my courses, and she and her partner are trying to pivot in the sense of working with a new industry. And she has these internal voices that are like, well, but I didn't do exactly that. But she still has the same expertise, right? And I think that showing up and saying, hey, this is what we're doing now. It's so funny, Jasmine, because I think we think everybody's paying attention to us like all the time.
Yeah.
It's totally not true. Like, nobody actually probably even knew what you used to do.
No. Nobody's sitting on the chair like, oh, I wonder when Celine is going to show up today.
No, nobody is. Nobody's sitting there. The only person that's having that conversation is you. It's like, if you
Right.
want to show up in a new outfit, show up in a new outfit. It's like no one was tracking what you were wearing the prior 365 days. It's just,
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. All right. So shifting to category two.
Yeah.
Category two, when someone is looking for elevating their speaking through LinkedIn with pitching or with your specific skills of connecting with untapped leads, where would you say is a place to start for them?
Okay. So pitching to speak is no different than pitching, if you will, to have somebody become a client, right? They're the same process, right? You're offering something of value, and in exchange, they'll pay you, and you create the value and all that stuff. So we're really just looking for this alignment. So there's a couple things within the connection of who's the decision maker, right? So when we talk about speaking, right, there's somebody who's making the decision about who is going to go onto that stage, right? And then sometimes it's multiple people, okay? And one thing to keep in mind is that okay, say that this other thing in a second. So what you can do is, let's say I would always believe that you're going to start with yourself in the middle. This is like concentric circles. So like, you put a pebble into the water and it goes out, right? So you're in the middle. And if you want to start speaking, start with your own community, right? Is there a chamber of commerce? Is there a local networking group? Who do you know that is looking for podcast speakers, right? Who do you know that, or you can find all kinds of, maybe there's other local events that you want to speak at, okay? So you're going to kind of start with a reasonable sort of like circle around you, right? There's something in common where you want to pitch to speak, okay? And what you can do is, let's say their process is to apply. That's great. But what if you also layered that by trying to build a personal conversation, a personal relationship with the person that's doing the selection of the speaker, right? You can go onto LinkedIn and pretty much find anybody. And let's say, Mary Jones is part of that process. You can just reach out to her on LinkedIn, connect with her, send an invitation to connect. And if she accepts, you can start a conversation. Say, I've submitted to speak and I would love the opportunity if you'd like to, ever, if there's anything else you have questions about, please let me know. I think what happens a lot in speaking is you go fill out that form and you're like, check the box. And then you're just
Mhm.
like waiting and you're like, will anybody ever get back to me? Right. And it's sort of like the same thing as like applying for a job. Like we
Mhm.
have to, sorry, let me rephrase that. We will benefit by layering in a one-to-one conversation into any opportunity that we're trying to cultivate. Okay. There's
Mhm.
probably like 200 applications there. What if you were
Yeah.
the only one who actually reached out to Mary Jones and actually said, hey, I'm really excited about this? Right.
Mhm.
And thinking about when you're
Mhm.
applying for a job, like go onto LinkedIn and go find the hiring manager and say, hey, I just sent my application. Right. It's the same. I'm trying to kind of make some parallels. This is not crazy. This is you showing up for yourself and making yourself known, right? It is MYK, I like to say. Make yourself known. Don't just be another application that the committee is looking over. And if you know who that person is, you can find that person. If you don't know, you could probably figure out where the company is or the organization and figure out who would be that person. You know what I mean? There's LinkedIn is an
Mhm.
incredible database and you can find a tremendous amount of information. But you know what, Jasmine, I think at the end of the day, it's really about trusting ourselves that we have a right to reach out and say hello and introduce ourselves. It's the actual belief that we can do that, right? It's like that we actually are a human being that has a lot to offer and there's somebody else out there that we can really communicate with to understand that we're excited about this opportunity. It doesn't always have to be this one to many, like, I'm going to fill out this form, I'm going to do this marketing. Like, get in there, build those relationships. And LinkedIn is an incredible database. I'm happy to get more detailed about that. But that one-to-one conversation is so there for the taking.
Yeah, and I love that what you shared because the principles that you shared applies even if you're selling another type of service. You work specifically with people who are selling who are service providers and may not just they may be providing coaching, they may be doing consulting work. Like the principles apply throughout. And it's just the area or the demographic or whatever, that's the only thing that really changes, and that's the only place that you really need to shift is just learning the language that helps you connect with them. So I love that you share that. I'm curious to know, like, first of all, I want to tell y'all something really exciting. Selena has a freebie for each of you. And if you head to that, this is a special one for our listeners, okay? It will help you be able to take a look at how you're setting up what. Tell us, Selena, a little bit about this freebie you have for them.
Absolutely. So it's 5 top areas of a magnetic LinkedIn profile. And we didn't even really talk about that. But one of there are 5 key areas. There's LinkedIn profile has a tremendous amount of information. But if you want to just get started, it's going to give you direction on 5 key areas that basically help you think of it as like kind of your landing page for everything that you do. And within that, you can definitely and should be putting speaker in there, right? That can be part of your profile. You get to share who you help, how you help them, and what those outcomes are. And I think it's interesting because Jasmine, I did see a recent post that you put. You said, look, you can just say you're a speaker, right? But nobody's going to come like necessarily running after you saying, oh, you're a speaker. But this is a key piece. And so, just to say that this profile is really a great place to sort of have you think about, who am I? Right. I mean, it's just a
Mhm.
little bit different when you're looking at in your Facebook profile, right? For comparing, it's more personal. If you have a Facebook page, it's not necessarily about your personal background and your expertise. If you're on Instagram, there's a tiny little blurb, right? LinkedIn gives, like, you can talk about you know, all of the history, all of your experience. You were talking about this
Mhm.
pivot, all of the experience that you bring to the work that you're doing now. And this particular freebie really just gets you started with 5 key areas. It's a big opportunity, and I will just say this: LinkedIn has a very, very strong domain on search. What that means is that if I Google Jasmin Haley and you've been active on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile could be like the top 5 links. And so if I'm suddenly referred to you, I can go to Jasmin Haley and all of a sudden I'm on your LinkedIn profile. And I think that that's one of the reasons I think everybody, even if they're not actively using the platform, there's 900 million people on that platform. Like I want you, everyone, all these listeners today to really know, like, I want you to represent yourself really well. And this quick freebie will at least get you started.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to let the listeners know we'll be sharing the URL for that in the show notes. But for those who are listening, it's selinaguerrero.com/legacy. Don't worry about it. It'll be in the show notes. So if you're busy right now, come back to the show notes. It will still be there. So I have one last question. I cannot believe our time went by that quickly. You shared so many gems. I would love to know from you, what was the best business advice you've ever been given?
Oh my goodness. I always stress out at these questions. The best business advice. Well, I think if since we're kind of on the topic of LinkedIn and sales, I think that it's really about it's not so much a specific lesson like some Yoda type person like said to me, but I think that the act of selling is really about trusting yourself that you have a place
Mm.
in the room. And
Wow.
I really, if there's anything I could, you know, help people with, right? And help, advice is that once you make that decision, right? Once you cross that barrier into, yes, I get to start conversations with whomever I want. I don't have to have permission to do anything, right? That power of the experience that I've had learning to sell is something that carries throughout my business and throughout my life too.
Mm, man, that one hit me straight here. That was so beautiful and so powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on the Legacy Speaker Show, Selena.
Thank you, Jasmine, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but the first thing that I just said to myself with the last statement that Selena made was, do I trust myself? Do I truly, honestly trust myself and the services that I have to provide? And am I showing up in that way, whether it be in person or virtually? I'm definitely going to be sitting and thinking about that. And I'm going to highly encourage you to tap into Selena. Her expertise, her thought leadership is amazing. It's going to help you to look at your sales and the way that you are using your LinkedIn strategy in a completely different way where you're more empowered to do the amazing legacy driven work that you do. So take a look at the show notes. Make sure you download the freebie that she has. She also has a special discount for anyone that's interested in leveraging their LinkedIn. Check out the details in our show notes. And if you need any assistance with your speaking, you know that Legacy Scaler is here. If you've enjoyed this impactful, gem filled episode, make sure you leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. It allows other people to find the incredible business owners that we feature, as well as the wonderful work that we're doing here in Legacy Scaler. All right, I will see you all at our next episode.